Today we have Ampharos. This cute little lamb who first appeared in the Johto games is most known for being Jasmine's sick Pokemon who the player generously helps using the rare secret potion found in CIanwood City Pharmacy. But how about the ampharosES, AmpharosI? I don't. The Ampharos that did not make it to the game plot. Were they deserving of the player's scrutiny as good Pokemon to use? Or were they but an inconvenience relegated to the PC? Or in Jasmine's Ampharos' case, the hospital? How well did the Ampharos line do in Gold and Silver? Let's find out. Now you may have noticed that we only said Gold and Silver. The reason is that Mareep, or any of its evolved forms, is unobtainable in Crystal version, which, in all fairness, would not even matter that much to us since the game's major fights are identical to Gold and Silver. But that is still an important clarification. In Gold and Silver, Mareep can be encountered at Route 42, aka right after beating Faulkner, which is a shame since it would have been probably really good against it, courtesy of learning Thundershock at level 9. Where Mareep is not good, however, is against the slew of hikers that populate Union Cave, totally walling it out of existence, though it can still find consolation in beating the other trainers it can find. Mareep would have a neutral matchup against the Slowpoke well split, outside of Zubats that it beats, and then, around the Bugsy fight, when it reaches level 15, it evolves into Flaffy! Flaffy's relatively early evolution is huge, not only because most Pokemon you can get by that point evolve later than level 15, but because Electric is super effective against Bugsy's ace, Scyther, through Thundershock spam. Flaffy will easily sweep the bug leader outside of the very unlucky crit RNG or poison from Kakuna, though the latter can be relatively medicated with a poison cure berry. Rival 2's Flaffy matchup is more or less good as it can beat Zubat and Ghastly, as well as a Crocodile starter. It does decently brawl with Quilava, but it folds to the Grass-type Bayleaf. Moving forward, Flaffy's team will reach Goldenrod, and oh boy, that matters a lot. Goldenrod City's department store gives Flaffy access to TM Fire Punch and Thunder Punch, the latter being an excellent stab move for it, and the former being useful coverage. With these moves, it becomes much more useful against Whitney, though it does not really sweep it as the Milk Tank is much more powerful than it, and has recovery. What Flaffy can reliably do, however, is paralyze it with Thunder Wave before dying. What this does is not only make it a lot slower, but potentially stopping a rollout chain with full paralysis, which makes it a much more manageable thing to deal with its teammates. Flaffy would go on to find Rival 3 waiting for it in the Equitique Burn Tower, in which Fire Punch it can beat Magnemite and Bayleaf pretty easily, while Thunder Punch hits everything else hard. What Flaffy does not hit as hard though is Morty's team, which has a very good special bulk that does not allow Flaffy to ever get more than 1 or 2 kills before being overwhelmed to oblivion. But then, the sheep can get its revenge on the 5th gym leader Chuck's Poliwrath, especially after having evolved into a cottonless sheep? Ampharos beats Primeape 1v1 due to its better stats and can one-shot Poliwrath if it survives a hit, which the player can elect to facilitate by bringing it later into the fight and using another Pokemon to beat Primeape. Ampharos then continues to be great against Price, which seems to be tailor-made for it, as the leader has 2 water types and a ground ice type without ground moves, making it begging to be destroyed by Fire Punch. And speaking of Fire Punch, next is Jasmine, so absolutely do nothing about the move, and even if Steelix survives it despite its poor special defense, it also has no ground moves to retaliate. And speaking of poor special defense and being weak to Ampharos, next is Radio Tower Team Rocket, aka the most boring split in the history of the game. But Ampharos can help with everything in the split just by spamming the best move between Thunder Punch and Fire Punch, which of course includes the rival fight. After being done with the bad guys, Ampharos will head on straight to Claire's Dragon Gym, and as it turns out, not all Pokemon are dealt with by either Thunder Punch or Fire Punch. In fact, Ampharos will barely beat one of the dragons, if that, though can either support or try to spread paralysis on them or be saved from King Dra, who, I mean, is hit neutrally by Thunder Punch and possibly beat it 1v1 depending on luck, but if Claire won't fall prey to Ampharos, Elite 4 member will. Get it? Ampharos can hit everything super effectively, and though its poor speed prevents it from clean sweeping, it will get several kills. Oh, and guess what? 4 of Koga's Pokemon are weak to either Thunder Punch or Fire Punch. Oh! And his Pokemon are worse than Will's, which means Ampha can get 4 kills in that matchup. Where Ampha does not get 4 kills, however, is Bruno, which has 3 specially bulky Hitmons, a scary Machamp, and a total Ampha wall in Onix, making Onix very good into the Light Sheep. But then again, Ampha has 2 good targets on Karen in Vileplume and Murkrow, and it can beat Gengar or Umbreon as well, which is nice. Finally, Ampha is also good on Lance by virtue of having stabbed super effective moves on 3 of his Pokemon, as well as hitting everything else neutrally for decent damage. In the Kanto part of the game, Ampha does not have any genuinely bad matchups whatsoever. It is very good against Erica, Misty, and Brock by virtue of his fossil mods. It is more or less neutral against everything else, which makes it overall decent. The blue fight, as well as the final confrontation with red, gives it a lot of good targets to win against. Executor, Pidgeot, Gyarados, Venusaur, Charizard, Blastoise are all Pokemon it can hit for super effective damage, which means it never ever falls out of favor or fails to help its team substantially. To be honest, we were going into this video thinking Ampharos might be kind of overrated due to how much hype it usually gets, but as it turns out, it pretty much deserves all the hype, as the Fire Punch, Thunder Punch combo, electric typing, and early evolutions are all traits that help it shine in the Johto games and confirm that, at least some of the time, the Pokemon fanbase can have true takes on stuff, which is as surprising as it sounds. But what do you think of Gen 2 Ampharos? Would you join the ranks of the numerous trainers who use it in their playthroughs? Or would you prefer dying rather than having you being the sheep's sheep? Feel free to let us know in the comments, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Take a look at these videos, and on that note, have a nice one.